Good evening. This is All India Radio, and I am Lalema Aneja Dang with me is R.S. Raghu with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi affirms economy is returning on track of normalization after first phase of nationwide unlock. Focus should be on both life and livelihood, boosting health infrastructure, testing and tracing, as well as increasing economic activity, says PM. Timely decisions helped in containment of COVID-19. Prime Minister reiterates the appeal for wearing mask, maintaining 2 gaj ki duri and hand washing. COVID testing capacity ramped up to 3 lakh tests per day. Recovery rate improves to 52.46%. An army officer and 2 soldiers martyred during a violent face-off with Chinese army in Ladakh's Galwan Valley. And southwest monsoon further advances into some more parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has affirmed that the economy is returning on track of normalization after 2 weeks of the first phase of nationwide unlock. In his opening remarks during his interaction with the chief ministers of 21 states and union territories through video conference today, Mr. Modi emphasized the need to focus on both life and livelihood, boosting health infrastructure, testing and tracing, as well as increasing economic activity. He said, due to recent efforts, several green shoots in the economy are now visible, which are encouraging us to forge ahead. He appealed to the chief ministers to turn crisis into opportunity. He said the views and the experiences of all states and union territories will be discussed to strategize future roadmap of nation's fight against the global pandemic. He highlighted the timely decisions taken by the government and early preparedness approach, which helped the country to chalk out measures to save many lives. Mr. Modi said, when India's fight against COVID-19 will be analyzed in future, this time will be remembered for how the centre and the states worked together in fighting the pandemic. He said it served as an example of cooperative federalism.
जब कभी भारत की कोरोना के खिलाफ लड़ाई का अध्ययन होगा तो ये दौर इसलिए भी याद किया जाएगा कि कैसे इस दौरान हमने साथ मिलकर के काम किया, कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म का सर्वोत्तम उदाहरण प्रस्तुत किया। साथियों, जब कोरोना दुनिया के अनेक देशों में चर्चा का विषय भी नहीं बना था, तब भारत ने इससे निपटने के लिए तैयारियां शुरू कर दी थी, फैसले लेने शुरू कर दिए थे। हमने एक एक भारतीय की जिंदगी को बचाने के लिए दिन रात मेहनत की।
The Prime Minister said in the last few weeks, thousands of Indians returned to India from abroad and hundreds of migrant workers reached their hometowns. The Prime Minister said that even a single loss of life due to COVID is saddening and the nation should not lower its guard even during the unlock. He urged every citizen to strictly follow all necessary precautions, including wearing mask, maintaining 2 gaj ki duri and washing hands regularly with soap.
थोड़ी सी भी लापरवाही, ढिलाई, अनुशासन में कमी कोरोना के खिलाफ हम सभी की लड़ाई को कमजोर करेगा। हमें इस बात का हमेशा ध्यान रखना है कि हम कोरोना को जितना रोक पाएंगे उतना ही हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था खुलेगी, हमारे दफ्तर खुलेंगे, मार्केट खुलेंगे, ट्रांसपोर्ट के साधन खुलेंगे और उतने ही रोजगार के नए अवसर भी बनेंगे।
Highlighting the recovery rate of over 50% from COVID-19, Prime Minister Modi said many countries are discussing steps taken by the Indian government during the lockdown which helped achieve an infrastructure which has been able to treat a large number of patients efficiently.
दुनिया के बड़े-बड़े एक्सपर्ट्स, हेल्थ के जानकार, लॉकडाउन और भारत के लोगों द्वारा दिखाए गए अनुशासन की आज भारी चर्चा हो रही है। आज भारत में रिकवरी रेट 50% से ऊपर चला गया है। आज भारत दुनिया के उन देशों में अग्रणी है जहां कोरोना संक्रमित मरीजों का जीवन बच रहा है।
Mr. Modi highlighted the increased sale of fertilizers, larger year-on-year sowing of kharif crops and digital payments in retail sector as few benchmarks. Mr. Modi also mentioned the historic reforms introduced by the government, including to provide automatic collateral-free loans to MSMEs and to boost agrarian economy as measures which will ensure creation of strong and sustained demand in the country. Our correspondent reports that Mr. Modi held a detailed meeting with senior ministers and officials, including Home Minister and Health Minister, on the 13th of this month to review India's response to COVID-19 pandemic. Today's interaction was the first part of the two-day interaction and witnessed participation of states and union territories, including Punjab, Assam, Kerala, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Chief Ministers thanked the Prime Minister for his leadership during such a challenging time and uniting the country to fight for collective fight against the virus. They provided feedback about existing health infrastructure in their states and efforts for augmentation to tackle the impact of the virus. They mentioned about the awareness campaigns being run by them, help being provided to workers who have returned home, usage of Arogya Setu app, and kick-starting of economic activities in the states. Home Minister Shri Amit Shah said that while the country has so far fought a successful battle against the pandemic, the road ahead is long and suggestions given by the Prime Minister regarding the use of mask and face cover, maintaining do gaj ki duri, etc. should be followed by all. The Prime Minister had held a detailed meeting with senior ministers and officials on the 13th of June to review India's response to COVID-19 pandemic. The meeting had reviewed the national level status and preparation in the context of the pandemic. Tomorrow, Prime Minister will interact with another 15 states and union territories: Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Telangana and Odisha.
Union government today said that the COVID-19 recovery rate has reached to 52.46% in the country and a total of 1,80,013 people affected with coronavirus have been cured in the country. Yesterday, 10,215 people recovered from this infection. Presently, the total number of active corona cases in the country is 1,53,178. Health and Family Welfare Ministry said that 10,667 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to 3,43,091 in the country. During the last 24 hours, 380 deaths were registered, taking the nationwide toll to 9,900. With this, the case fatality rate reached at 2.88% in the country. Meanwhile, Indian Council of Medical Research ICMR said that a total of 1,54,935 tests of coronavirus were conducted by the various laboratories in the country within last 24 hours. Kerala reported 79 new COVID cases and 60 recoveries today. More from our correspondent.
Among the new COVID cases, majority are returnees, with 47 from abroad and 26 from other states. With this, the number of active cases in the state rose to 1,366. So far, 1,234 people have been cured of COVID-19 in Kerala. Over 1,22,000 people are under observation in the state. Meanwhile, Met Department predicts heavy rain in the state for today and tomorrow. Yellow alert is issued in 7 districts for tomorrow. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagar Palika Commissioner B.H. Anil Kumar has informed that spike in COVID-19 cases in Bengaluru is due to arrival of people into the state after Unlock 1. Speaking to our Bengaluru correspondent, he said that increase in influenza-like illness and severe acute respiratory infections is due to monsoon.
What is required at this stage is that we need to be more proactive and ensure that we go out into these vulnerable areas. Our strategy now is to identify such areas. Those people who are likely to be super spreaders, they would be identified and tested and screened, and if found positive, would be sent to isolation. So this is what is the strategy for the coming days, and this is what we are now planning to do in our city.
In Tamil Nadu, 1,515 new cases of COVID-19 infection have been recorded, including 919 from Chennai. The active caseload, including those in hospitals and isolation, is 20,706. The total number of people tested positive so far has gone up to 48,019. The death toll has marginally gone up, with 49 people succumbing to the viral disease today, taking the toll to 528. Meanwhile, 1,438 people went back home from hospitals and COVID-19 care centers after recovery. Here is a report from our correspondent.
Conducting fever clinics in Chennai streets has gained pace, with about 680 medical camps being held every day for the past few days. The initiative forms part of the micro plan that is underway in the state capital to reduce the COVID-19 caseload. The camps include those at 2 places each in 200 divisions of the city corporation and 140 streets falling under the jurisdictions of an equal number of urban primary health centers. Medical teams have been mobilized along with the supporting staff to conduct the camps that help identify suspected cases of COVID-19 for testing, besides attending to the other medical needs of the public during the time of the pandemic. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In our series Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you the views of the leading medical experts on COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Dr. Ambuj Roy of Cardiology Department of AIIMS advised the elderly people and those suffering from other diseases like hypertension and cancer to take extra precautions to avoid the infection.
In the larger population, it has given them time to understand the seriousness of the disease, the precautions they need to take, how to live with this. They have practiced social distancing. The people who already have heart disease, people who have had brain strokes, people who have lung disease, people who have some kind of cancer, they're much more prone to a more severe form of the disease if they get the disease.
Dr. Naresh Gupta of LNJP Hospital, Delhi, suggested to people to maintain hygiene and social distancing.
Sanitation, hygiene, hand hygiene, masking, this social distancing, nobody should try to break that rule, I would call it. The idea is when somebody coughs or sneezing, that cough or sneeze particles can travel 1 to 2 meters or even more. When one speaks loudly, it can travel to 1 meter.
The Rajasthan government today removed all conditions imposed for interstate traffic. Now no person will need any pass or NOC to enter the state and visit another state. Additional Chief Secretary of the Home Department Rajiv Swarup today issued orders regarding this. The order states that though the screening of people will still continue while entering the state and on their way to another state, also checkposts made on interstate borders will remain unchanged. It has been instructed that these steps have been taken keeping in mind the recovery rate of people affected with COVID-19 in the state. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi affirms economy is returning on track of normalization after first phase of nationwide unlock. Focus should be on both life and livelihood, boosting health, infrastructure, testing and tracing, as well as increasing economic activity, says PM. Timely decisions helped in containment of COVID-19. Prime Minister reiterates the appeal for wearing mask, maintaining 2 gaj ki duri and hand washing. COVID testing capacity ramped up to 3 lakh tests per day. Recovery rate improves to 52.46%. An army officer and 2 soldiers martyred during a violent face-off with Chinese army in Ladakh's Galwan Valley. Southwest monsoon further advances into some more parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
अपने साथ अपनों का ध्यान रखो, बड़े बुजुर्गों का तुम ध्यान रखो, 2 बात करो, कुछ मदद करो, कोरोना के चलते याद रखो, घर की सफाई ना भूलना, हाथों को धोना मत भूलना, सुरक्षित दादा दादी नाना नानी अभियान, अपने साथ अपनों का ध्यान.
The army today said that one of its officers and 2 soldiers were martyred in Ladakh's Galwan Valley yesterday night during a violent face-off with the Chinese army. In an official statement, the army said during the de-escalation process underway in the Galwan Valley, both sides suffered casualties. The army said senior military officials of the two sides are currently meeting at the venue to defuse the situation. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has reviewed the situation at a meeting with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and the three service chiefs. Later, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the issue. India today said on the late evening and night of 15th June, a violent face-off happened as a result of an attempt by the Chinese side to unilaterally change the status quo there. Both sides suffered casualties that could have been avoided had the agreement at the high level been scrupulously followed by the Chinese side. In response to media queries on the situation in the western sector of the India-China border, the MEA spokesperson Anurag Srivastav said, given its responsible approach to border management, India is very clear that all its activities are always within the Indian side of the LAC. He said India expected the same of the Chinese side. The spokesperson said India and China have been discussing through military and diplomatic channels the de-escalation of the situation in the border area in eastern Ladakh. Senior commanders had a productive meeting on the 6th of this month and agreed on a process for such de-escalation. Subsequently, ground commanders had a series of meetings to implement the consensus reached at a higher level. He said while it was New Delhi's expectation that this would unfold smoothly, the Chinese side departed from the consensus to respect the line of actual control in the Galwan Valley. The spokesman added that New Delhi remains firmly convinced of the need for maintenance of peace and tranquility in the border areas and the resolution of differences through dialogue. At the same time, New Delhi is also strongly committed to ensuring India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Defence expert and director, Society for Policy Studies, Commodore C. Uday Bhaskar, has termed the loss of lives of army officer and two soldiers along the line of actual control in the face-off with Chinese troops as a serious development. Talking to AIR News, Commodore Bhaskar said that while efforts are being made to diffuse the tension, the Indian response must be comprehensive, calibrated and resolute.
The loss of 3 Indian Army lives along the line of actual control in the current face-off with Chinese troops is a serious development and a major setback to the uneasy India-China bilateral relationship. While efforts are being made to diffuse the tension, the Indian response must be comprehensive, calibrated and resolute. However, Indian restraint should not be mistaken for timidity. Concurrently, China's propaganda offensive must also be appropriately resisted.
BJP President JP Nadda has said the borders of India will remain intact under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said during the de-escalation process that was underway in the Galwan Valley in Ladakh, a violent face-off took place with Chinese army. He added Indian army gave a befitting reply, but unfortunately the country has lost its 3 army men. Paying homage to them for their sacrifice, Mr. Nadda assured that under the leadership of Mr. Modi, India's territorial integrity will not be compromised. The BJP president said they now have the political will and Indian army is fully equipped to take on any adversary. Mr. Nadda said this while addressing Kerala Jan Samvad rally through video conference. The charge d'affaires of the High Commission of Pakistan, Haider Shah, was summoned today to the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi, and a strong protest was lodged on the abduction and torture of 2 officials of the High Commission of India in Islamabad by Pakistan security agencies. 2 officials of the Indian High Commission were forcibly abducted by Pakistani agencies on the 15th of this month and kept in illegal custody for more than 10 hours. They were released only after strong intervention by the High Commission of India in Islamabad and the Ministry of External Affairs in Delhi. The 2 Indian officials were subjected to interrogation, torture and physical assault, resulting in grievous injuries to them. They were videographed and forced to accept a litany of fictitious allegations and concocted charges. The vehicle of the High Commission in which they were travelling was extensively damaged. The Government of India strongly condemned and deplored the action of the Pakistani authorities. It termed this as premeditated, grave and provocative action on the part of the Pakistani authorities, preceded by intensified surveillance, harassment and intimidation of High Commission personnel over the past several days. It was designed to obstruct and disrupt the normal functioning of the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. New Delhi also rejected the attempt by Pakistani authorities to levy false accusations and concocted charges on the officials of the High Commission.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, a fierce gunfight broke out between terrorists and security forces in Turkawangam village of Shopian district this morning. Defense PRO said that the joint team of security forces launched a cordon and search operation based on an intelligence input about the presence of terrorists in the village. The spokesperson said that when security forces approached towards the suspected spot, the hiding terrorists fired upon them. The fire was effectively retaliated by the joint team, triggering off an encounter which resulted into the elimination of 3 terrorists. India Meteorological Department, IMD, has said that the southwest monsoon has further advanced into parts of West Madhya Pradesh, most parts of East Madhya Pradesh and some more parts of East Uttar Pradesh. The northern limit of monsoon is passing through Kandla, Ahmedabad, Indore, Raisen, Khajuraho, Fatehpur and Bahraich. Talking to AIR News, weather scientist R.K. Janamani said,
मानसून गुजरात का काफी हिस्सा, मध्य प्रदेश का मोस्ट पार्ट जो है और पूर्व उत्तर प्रदेश है काफी हिस्सा आज कवर किए हैं और रेनफॉल जो है गुजरात, कर्नाटक, केरला उसमें रेनफॉल अच्छा चल रहा है। मध्य प्रदेश में भी अच्छा चल रहा है। उड़ीसा, बंगाल, बिहार, झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़ ये सारा इलाका में बारिश अच्छा हो रहा है और आज तक जो ऑल इंडिया रेनफॉल है वो काफी पॉजिटिव अभी भी चल रहा है, 29% प्लस है।
Under the third phase of Vande Bharat mission, 2 different flights carrying the stranded Indians from Ukraine and Bangladesh arrived at Ahmedabad airport today. Talking to AIR News, officials informed that first such flight carrying around 144 Indians from Ukraine reached Ahmedabad today morning, while another flight with around 46 passengers from Bangladesh also arrived at Ahmedabad airport this evening. All the passengers were screened at the airport and later quarantined by the state government for 14 days. Our correspondent reports that 2 flights from Kuwait are also expected to reach Ahmedabad by today midnight. Under the third phase of Vande Bharat mission, a total of 31 flights have been scheduled for Gujarat, which will bring back Indians stranded in different countries during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Maharashtra government has informed that over 12,000 passengers have arrived in Mumbai via 78 flights under the Vande Bharat mission. A statement from the Chief Minister's office informs that these include 4,014 passengers who reside outside Maharashtra. It adds that an additional 80 flights are expected to bring thousands of more stranded passengers back to India by the end of this month. So far, citizens stuck in 38 foreign countries, including those in Europe, America, Gulf region and Asia, have been brought back.
Union Steel Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has stressed on enhancing domestic steel usage in the country and reducing import dependence for meeting oil and gas sector steel requirements. Addressing the webinar on Atmanirbhar Bharat, fostering domestic steel usage in oil and gas sector in New Delhi today, he said that steel and oil and gas sectors have close linkage and it is time to take it to a new pedestal. Mr. Pradhan said that Atmanirbhar Bharat is a strong Bharat with robust manufacturing sector, self-reliant yet globally integrated economy. He said that Indian steel sector can strive to be a major player at the global stage only after it fulfills all the domestic requirements. The minister added that domestic players should rise to the occasion so that cost does not escalate in our efforts to promote localization of supply chain. Bangladesh continued to report large number of corona deaths and new infections even as the death toll in the country reached the figure of 1,262 today. In the meanwhile, evacuation of Indian citizens from Bangladesh is continuing under the Vande Bharat mission. While more than 2,300 people have already been evacuated, the High Commission of India in Bangladesh is likely to organize some more evacuation exercises to move those Indians who want to leave Bangladesh in the view of the corona pandemic. A report.
The evacuation of Indian nationals from Bangladesh continued as a batch of 166 passengers left for Delhi and Ahmedabad from Dhaka today. It was the first flight to Ahmedabad from Bangladesh. Till now, more than 2,130 people have been evacuated by flight, while 230 stranded Indians were evacuated through the land border between Bangladesh and India. The evacuation may continue depending upon the requirement and conditions on the ground. In the meanwhile, Bangladesh continues to witness spread of coronavirus in the country. Today, it reported 53 deaths, which is the largest single-day toll. The number of infected people has also crossed 94,000. Rajesh Jha, AIR News, Dhaka.
The Ayush Ministry is encouraging people to learn the common yoga protocol using the resources it has made publicly available on the yoga portal, social media handles and the television. Prasar Bharati started daily telecast of the common yoga protocol on DD Bharati from 8 in the morning since the 11th of this month. The government is supporting the initiatives by promoting the theme Yoga at Home, Yoga with Family as a part of the activities in the run-up to the International Yoga Day celebration on the 21st of this month. Yoga at Home, Yoga with Family theme has already been adopted by numerous institutions and individuals across the country. This year's observance of the International Day of Yoga will aim to highlight the health-building and stress-relieving aspects of yoga. In light of this, Ministry of Ayush has also organized a trainer-led yoga session which will be telecast on Doordarshan on the 21st of June at 6:30 in the morning. The government has refuted the claim that the central government has postponed the wage hike of the employees until next year. Press Information Bureau today said that DOPT's order is related to completion and deadline extension of annual performance appraisal report of the employees and not related to the increment. It said wrong facts have been explained in the report. Few media reports claim that the central government postponed the wage hike until next year. The News Services Division of All India Radio in its bilingual live phone-in program today will bring you a special discussion program on COVID-19. Dr. Sanjay Pandey, Senior Physician from GB Pant Hospital, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the expert on toll-free number 1800115767. You may also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital, Delhi, will witness minimum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius and maximum 42 degrees Celsius with partly cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder lightning. Mumbai will witness generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. The minimum temperature will be 26 degrees Celsius and maximum temperature will be 32 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will witness generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature in the metropolis will be 26 degrees Celsius while maximum will be around 32 degrees. In the south, Chennai will observe generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature will be 30 degrees Celsius while maximum will be around 39 degrees Celsius. On to the north, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature will be 26 degrees Celsius in Jammu while maximum will be around 42 degrees Celsius. The city will witness mainly clear sky tomorrow. In Srinagar, the minimum temperature will be 14 degrees Celsius while maximum will be around 31 degrees. The city will face mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy sky towards afternoon or evening. In Gilgit, the temperature will hover between 13 and 32 degrees Celsius with mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. In Muzaffarabad, there will be mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. It will witness minimum temperatures of 21 degrees Celsius while the maximum temperature will be around 38 degrees Celsius.
And now, before we end the headlines once again, Prime Minister Narendra Modi affirms economy is returning on track of normalization after first phase of nationwide unlock. Focus should be on both life and livelihood, boosting health infrastructure, testing and tracing, as well as increasing economic activity, says the Prime Minister. Timely decisions helped in containment of COVID-19. Prime Minister reiterates the appeal for wearing mask, maintaining 2 gaj ki duri and hand washing. COVID testing capacity ramped up to 3 lakh tests per day. Recovery rate improves to 52.46%. An army officer and 2 soldiers martyred during a violent face-off with the Chinese army in Ladakh's Galwan Valley. And External Affairs Ministry says government is also strongly committed to ensuring India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.